for coming. So let's do the mantras to bring our mind into full concentration on this deep subject. Om Parthaye Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayan Swayam Vyasen Grathitam Puran Munana Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritvashine Bhagavati Mashtadashadhyayane Am Tvam Anusandhami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshane नमो अस्तुते व्यास विशाल बुद्धे पुल अरविंद आयत पत्र नेत्र येन तव्या भारत तैल पूर्ण प्रज्वलितो ज्ञान मया प्रदीपः परपान्न पारी जाताये तोत्र वेत्र एक पानये ज्ञान मुद्राये कृष्णाये गीता अमृत दुहे नमः सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोगदा गोपाल नंदना पार्थो वत्सा सुधीर भोगता दुग्धम गीता अमृतम महत वसुदेव सुतं देवं कंस चानूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथ जला गान्धार नीलोत्पला शल्ये ग्राहवती कृपेन वहने कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थाम विकर्ण घोरमकरा दुर्योधन अवर्तने सोतीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरन्नदी के वर्तका केशवा पाराशरे वत्सरोजमलं गीता अर्थगन्धोटकम् नानाख्यानकेसरं हरिकथा संबोधन अबोधितं लोके सज्जन षट्पदे रह रह पेपिये मानम मुदा भूयाद भारत पंकजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसी न श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघ्यते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्द माधवम् यं ब्रह्म वरुण इंद्र रुद्र मरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्ये स्तवे वेदै सांग पद क्रमोपनिषदै गायन्ति यम सामगा ध्यानवस्थित तत्कतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यम योगिनो यस्यन्तं न विदुसुर असुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः. We ended our last week's class with verse number 58. And this is the last chapter, 18th chapter, Moksha Sanyas Yoga. And there's a lot of repetition here because there's a lot of new knowledge here, but at the same time, some repetition, some summary of the ideas which Lord Krishna mentioned in the previous chapters also. So in 58, he's saying, fixing your mind upon me, you shall by my grace overcome all obstacles. But if from egoism you will not hear me, you shall perish. Okay. And then to weave the idea, the same idea, Lord Krishna is saying few more words in the verse number 59. It's almost like a very chastising mood Lord Krishna is using. So it's delivering a word of caution. Anybody who doesn't want to follow this advice. Yat ahankaram ashrite na yotse iti manyase mithya esha vyavasayate prakriti tvam niyokshyati. Yat means if. Ahankaram, egoism. Ashrite, having taken refuge in. Na yotsye, will not fight, will not do my duty. See, for Arjun, he's talking to Arjun, and as a warrior, he's supposed to wage that war. So that's why he's saying fight. So for us, it's doing our duties. Iti means thus, manya say you think. Mithya, vain. Eshaha, this. Vyavasaya, resolve. Te means your, prakriti, nature. Tvam, your. Niyukshati, will compel. Filled with egoism, if you think I will not fight. Vain in this, your resolve, your nature will compel you. See, there could be some journal statement, philosophical statements, and they can just go over our head. But when those particular statements are made for you particularly, then they seep deep into the roots. And that's why Lord Krishna is saying that you will. If you think you're not going to do it out of egoism, you will keep on thinking about it. Because this, what is egoism? It's a sense of self-importance, self-conceited. That's how Arjuna was saying, I'm not going to fight. So he says, in vain, you're thinking about it. But your Rajasic nature, Kshatriya is predominantly Rajasic. So Rajogan will assert itself. That's what nature is. Nature will compel you. So temporarily, maybe he's feeling that he wants to just run away and meditate because that's better. But inside, the vasanas are not like that. They will definitely erupt. It's a law of nature that the mental temperament would assert itself at a later period. That's what Lord Krishna is making a point over here. So right now, maybe he's not feeling it that way. But we have to exhaust our vasanas properly. So he says they will compel you. Continuation of this in the next verse. So his words are still warning further. स्वभावेजेन कौन्तेय निबधा स्वेन कर्मणः कर्तुं न इच्छसि यत् मोहात् करिष्यसि अवशा अपि तत् स्वभावजेन, born of your own nature. See, ja word is birth. Kaunteya, Arjuna, nibadha, bound. Swain, your own. Karmana, by action. Kartum, to do. Na ichhasi, na means not. Ichhasi means you wish. Yat means that. Mohat, through delusion. Karishyasi, you shall do. Avashaha, helpless. Api means also, tat means that. O son of Kunti, you all know Kunti is Arjun's mother's name. Okay, son of Kunti, bound by your own karma, born of your own nature, that which through delusion you wish not to do, even that you shall do helplessly. So again, he is elaborating on the thought which he presented in the previous verse. Okay, so I'm asking you to fight, I'm asking you to do your duty. It's not that I don't have any personal sympathies for you, but because this is what is right for you. You really don't have any other choice. So even though you are insisting that I will not fight, he says it's merely an illusion. Mohat. You will have to fight because your nature will assert itself. See, actions we are doing, they are propelled by our own vasanas. That is the bottom line of this philosophy. Okay, so wrong thinking, miscalculation, Arjun feels that he does not like the war right now. And we all know why. He has waged many wars before, but this time he got delusional because attachment to the other side. There were so many of the people he knew, he grew up with, his own cousins, his uncles, his teacher's son, grandfather, they were all on the other side, enemy side. So he did not want to wage this war. He is not ready to face it. So he who has no control over his mind, becomes a victim of circumstances. And that's what's happening to Arjuna. Delusion is that. See, the path of yoga, whether it's a meditation or whether it's a bhakti or karma yoga, it makes us the master of our mind. If we are a master of our mind, then delusion is not there. Greater the control of mind administered by the intellect, the nobler is the man. So that's why this intellect has to be very firm, very clear. The great people, the leaders, the people we depend upon and people we really look up to, we really see that their intellect is not wavering all the time. It's very clear. And that's why we respect them. They know what decision to make. And Arjun was not there at that time. He was wavering. So Lord Krishna is telling him, remember me constantly. In so many verses, he said, while you are doing your duty, remember me. And what does that mean when he says, remember me? How are we supposed to remember him? Are we supposed to sit in meditation all the time? What is our relationship with God? Are we supposed to remember him just as a historical leader? Answer to these questions we'll see in the next verses. Because this is what he is telling Arjun. In the last week, we learned that. He's saying, remember me and do your duty. And we are supposed to do our duties also. So there is a good guideline for us also. Okay, so he says, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hrideshe arjun tishtati brahmyan sarva bhutani yantra adurani maya. Ishvara, the Lord, sarva bhutanam, of all beings, hrideshe, in the hearts, Arjuna, tishtati, dwells. Brahmyan, causing to revolve. Sarva bhutani, all beings. Yantra arudane, mounted on a machine. Maya, by delusion. He says, Lord dwells in the hearts of all beings. O Arjun, causing all beings by his elusive power to revolve as if mounted on a machine. So he's emphasizing the dependence of the soul upon God. He's saying, Arjun, whether you choose to obey me or not, your position will always remain under my dominion. Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hrideshe. I'm seated over there. He's saying the body in which you reside in is a machine made from my Maya. It's not somebody else's Maya, it's my Prakriti. Based upon your past karmas, I have given you the kind of a body you deserved. But I am also seated in it. And I'm seated in everybody else's heart too. By remembering this, do your duty. So the advice given by the Lord is clear and beyond all shades of doubts. Remember the Lord. Remember the Lord. How do we remember?
Can you please repeat this verse? It's an important verse and I didn't get it.
Yeah, I'm still going through it. Is there any particular word you didn't understand? Or
it's just, it went so fast that on seated on the machine made of material things, I want to understand that.
Okay, all right. It's the soul is like a dependence of the soul upon the God. Because what is a soul? Soul is just a tiny part of the Lord. We got to always remember that. We are the soul who is dependent upon God. So he is saying that whether you choose to obey me or not, because he will give him the chance to say, I don't want to do this. Because ultimately it is Arjun's decision. That is the freedom as human beings we have. But he is saying that whether you choose to obey me or not, your position will always remain under my dominion. I'm still with you. And the body which you reside in, this physical body and the mental body also. So Suksham Sharir and the Sathul Sharir, both, it's a machine made from my Maya. Okay, it's not some other power out there who's making this. This is God's Maya. And why do we get different bodies? Why a bird gets a bird body and a tree gets a tree body? And as a human being, we all look different. Physically, we look different. And then mentally, of course, there are so many shades of it. He says, based upon your past karmas, I have given you the kind of a body you deserved. We get what we deserve, not what we want. Okay, we got to always remember that. So to be deserving, we have to have those qualities also. He says, I am seated in it also. No matter which body it is, he says, I am seated in it. That's why he said, Brahmyan sarva bhutani yantra arudani maya. So do not remember the Lord as merely a personified power. That's what he's trying to tell us. He says, recognize me as one who dwells in the heart of everyone. When we step on a little bug outside, crush it. There's a God in that little bug too. When we cut a green tree, which is not supposed to be cut, there's a God in that tree also. So recognize him, not only in the temple statue, recognize him everywhere, especially in all the beings. So start from there at least. If you cannot see God everywhere, because we don't identify ourselves being everywhere, but start seeing God in people and beings. And the heart, say, it's not this physical pumping heart. Philosophically, heart means a person who has cultivated divine qualities, such as love, kindness, patience, affection, tenderness, forgiveness, charity. That is the heart we need to remember. When we have those kind of qualities, then we will see God seated in our heart. See, normally, don't we say that large heart, good heart, person who has these qualities, we say a person has a large heart. We use this heart word philosophically all the time. So that's why don't take it literally in this verse also. So a person of love and human qualities, he's talking about over here. Pure consciousness by itself does not act. So soul, Shuddha Buddha soul doesn't act. But in the presence of the Prakriti, it gets vitalized and it acts. So it's a combination of the Atma and the Prakriti. Okay, so that's what he's saying, that Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Harideshe Arjun Tishtati. Brahmyan Sarvabhutani Yantra Arudani Maya. The supreme functioning through the total bodies as the cause of all actions. That's called Ishwar. Life functioning in each one of us is the master, the controller, the director, the Lord of all individual activities. So basically what he's saying over here in nutshell, that don't think you are independent of me in any condition. Because this Prakriti in me cannot function without the Atma, and Atma is nothing but a part of Paramatma. So remember that. You don't have to remember any picture of God. Remember, you are the Atma, which is part of Paramatma. So when we remember who we are in essence, then it will show in our actions also. We forget who we are in essence. We identify ourselves with non-us. And that's how we forget God. Okay, let me read it again. See if it makes sense. The Lord dwells in the hearts of all beings. And all means all, not just some. O Arjun, causing all beings by his elusive power. That's a Maya Shakti. Yesterday we were talking about the Ichha Shakti, the Maya Shakti, the Kriya Shakti. There are so many powers. So this is a Maya Shakti, to revolve as if mounted on a machine. Okay. So essential life, the essence of us, which is Atma or the soul, is the same in all of us. Okay. Tam eva sharnam gach, sarva bhaven bharat, tat prasadat param shantim, sathanam prapyasi shashvatam. Tam means to him, ev means even, sharnam gach, surrender or taking refuge, sarva bhaven, wholeheartedly. Bharat is for Arjun. That's another name. So many different names Lord Krishna is calling Arjun by. That shows what kind of an intimate relationship they both had. Closer the relationships, more the names we have for a person. Tat prasadat, by his grace. See, prasad means grace. Param Shanti, supreme peace. Sathanam, the abode. Prapyasi, shall obtain. Shashvatam, eternal. Surrender to him for refuge with all your being. So that means totally surrender. O Bharat, by his grace you shall obtain supreme peace and the eternal abode. Eternal abode means the ultimate goal. So this has been repeated in Bhagavad Gita several times. It's almost like with a great insistence. This teacher is telling us, renounce your ego and act. That's what surrender means. Renounce your ego. Because ego is the cause for all our sense of imperfections and sorrow. Ego. So that's why he has been advising us again and again, surrender your ego unto the Lord. How do we do it? By developing a devoted attitude of dedication. So when we love somebody, very easy to surrender. So that's why the path of love is a little easier. Love God. He says, fly unto him for refuge with all your will. It's the easiest way to do it. See, our age is a age of skeptics. Whatever we don't see, we don't want to believe. That's why very hard for majority of the people to surrender. People want to be intellectually convinced. They want to see the logic behind it. So that's why Lord Krishna is giving us the logic also. That's why this book is a science book also, not just only a philosophy. This is scientific philosophy and philosophically scientific. So a combination of both. So we are asked to identify ourselves with the spirit rather than the vehicles of its expression. And vehicles of the expression are this physical body or mind. So he says, if we can do that, then we will feel his grace. Tat prasadat, that's what will happen. An outcome of that grace is what? Peace. Not just an ordinary peace, param shanti, the highest peace, supreme peace. And we will feel that we are moving towards that eternal abode. Okay, but key word in this verse is sarva bhaven, wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly. Because we do surrender here and there a little bit, but wholeheartedly it's very hard for us to surrender. And that's what we need to do. Not a temporary deceiving ourselves, but wholeheartedly. So it's like a presence of divine with us all the time. Then and then alone, all the delusions will end. If we cannot do it all the time right now, at least the time of the prayers, the time of the meditation, time of your yoga exercises, surrender. See what kind of a peace you get. Time when you do the seva, wholeheartedly do the seva, at least 1 hour a day or 1 hour a week or whatever you choose, wholeheartedly. Not for some recognition, but just remembering God and devoting to God. You will see that peace will start flowing right away. Okay. So then and then alone, all the delusions will end. He's saying that. You will have the divine experience and you will come to live fully the state of Godhood. And in conclusion, Lord Krishna is saying, Iti te jnanam akyatam guhyat guhutaram mea vimrishyahe etat asheshena yatha ichhasi tatha kuru. Iti means thus, te means to you, jnanam means wisdom. Akhyatam, explained, declared. Guhyat, then all secrets. Guhutaram, greater secret. That means greater secret than the all secrets. Guhyat guhutaram, meya, by me. Vimrishyahe. Vimrishya means pondering or reflecting upon. Etat, this, asheshen, completely, fully. Don't leave anything out. Yatha means as, ichhasi, you wish. Tatha means so, kuru means do or act. Beautiful verse. Lord Krishna is saying the wisdom which is greater secret than all secrets. And we all know what secret means. Secret means it's very subtle. That doesn't mean that you should not tell anybody. Because ordinarily secret is don't tell anybody. Over here it really means that most of the people with the ordinary intellect you really cannot understand. You have to dig deeper into it because it's very subtle. So in that sense, a secret. So the wisdom which is greater secret than all secrets has been declared to you by me. Having reflected upon it completely, you now act as you choose. So Lord Krishna is not telling him that I have spent so much time and so much energy on you to teach. You better do this. No. He says, you have the full freedom to choose to act the way you want to, but reflect upon it what I have told you. Think about it. Then make decision. Some people say this is a closing verse of the Gita discourse in the battlefield. Okay? It's like a very dynamically, Lord Krishna is telling Arjun that do whatever you wish to do. This is a Gita's vision of truth. And Guhyam word we have seen it earlier. Guhtaram also we have seen it earlier. So the soul which we don't see, it is in there. Because of this energy, this inert matter is working. This is the secret knowledge. This is Guh. And we saw that in earlier chapters. In fact, chapter 2, right from the beginning, Lord Krishna started talking about this. He said, I'm revealing this knowledge of the soul, which is Guh. Then again in 7th and 8th chapter, if you remember, he explains that his powers, Guhatam, more secret. And now, and actually in 9th chapter also, he said, Guhatam, the most secret. Okay, so this is secret, more secret, and the most secret. Over here, he is saying Guhuat Guhutaram, deeper secret than the secrets. So, and reflect over it. That is anything we study unless we reflect upon it, which the term he used over here, vimrishya. No matter how much listening we do, we can be listening to the greatest gurus or the God himself. We need to ponder upon it ourselves. Only then we will have some kind of a gain from that knowledge which is being imparted to us. Otherwise, it just stays only in the information. From information to the knowledge to the wisdom. Because information we have plenty in Google also. These days in WhatsApp also. That's just the information. Then from the information comes the knowledge. It's a little bit more organized. But then wisdom becomes our wisdom when we reflect upon it. And that's what he's telling Arjun. To reflect, the knowledge gained through reading or listening must be assimilated. Okay? And Sanskrit, it's called manan also. Vimrishe or the manan is the same thing. Shravan, manan, right? Then it becomes our own experience. That is nididhyasan. Okay, so we got to assimilate this. We got to churn this. We got to think about it. But does it really make sense? Then it becomes wisdom. So Arjun has been asked to independently think over all that has been declared, or put the ideas between the mind and the intellect and chew it properly, reflect upon it, and then act, he says, if it makes sense to you, act. So this is the free choice. There's no compulsion. A human personality cannot be forced by compulsion to grow in its moral and ethical spiritual unfoldment. Cannot force anybody. Not just humans, even a little bug we cannot force. If an ant wants to go somewhere, we'll go there, no matter how much you try. I'm sure you can step on it and kill it. Then you incur a big obstacle on your path. But otherwise, you really cannot force. But as human beings, we have a higher intellect. Nobody can be forced. So that's why we have a freedom to choose. So that's what this guru is. Great guru, God himself. He's not forcing Arjun. He's just telling him to choose properly, though. Properly. So, so he's inviting Arjun to make his own independent decision after considering all these points. So, devotion to the Lord is the secret of success in Karma Yoga, and that's what's again emphasized in the next verse. Sarv guhutamam bhuyah shrenu me paramam vacha ishtha asi me dridamiti tata vakshyami te hitam. Sarv guhutamam, the most secret of all. Bhuya, again. Shrinu, here. Me means my. Paramam, supreme. Vacha, the word. Ishtaha, beloved. Asi means are. Me means of me. Dridam, dearly or firm. Iti means thus. Tataha means therefore. Vakshyami, I will speak. Te means your. Hitam, what is good. Here again, my supreme word, most secret of all, because you are dearly beloved of me. Therefore, I will tell you what is good for you. So Lord Krishna is saying, you are dear to me. That's why I'm telling you to do this. Even though you are free to do whatever you choose. But for you, your good, I'm telling you. And you can listen to me again. We see identical statements in the Upanishads also, especially in the Kane Upanishad. Similar words have been used there by a guru for the disciples. That wisdom has been declared to you by me. Now you choose. And then again, repetition of what the teacher is saying. So that's why Lord Krishna continues and says, again, I will repeat. So it's like a elaboration, then a summary of it, and then again, little bit more summary of it towards the end. Okay. So this is the profoundest wisdom. I am giving it to you. And what is the motive force behind all this? Why is he repeating it? He says, for your hit, for your good, because you are dear to me. Unless a teacher has abundant love for the students, then a teacher cannot teach properly. And that's what we see in Lord Krishna's words. Utmost love for his student. He just keeps on repeating again and again and again. Okay. And what is this Sarva Guhutam? That is mentioned in the next verse. And we need to know that today. Manmana bhav madbhakta madhyaji mam namaskuru mam ev eshyasi satyam te pratijane priya asime. We should always remember this verse. Kind of memorize if you can. Manmana, with the mind fixed on me. Bhav means be, madbhakta, my devotee or devoted to me. Mathyaji, worship also to me. Ma means to me, namaskuru kuru, bow down to me. Mam to me, Eve means even, Eshyasi, you shall come. Satyam, truth. Te means to you, Pratijane, I promise. See, God is promising us in this verse. That's why I said we should memorize this. Priya, dear, Asi, you are, me means me. Fix your mind upon me. Be devoted to me. Sacrifice to me, that means worship. Bow down to me. You shall come surely then to me alone. Truly, I promise to you. Why? Because you are dear to me. If we want to become dear to God, this is what we have to do. Ideas cannot penetrate a confused mind unless there's a repetition in the ideas. That's why Lord Krishna is repeating again and again and again to us. This is a very systematic method adopted in all the scriptures. So many different scriptures we are studying these days, thanks to COVID. We have a time to study all that, but this is what we see, repetition, so that all this goes into our mind. So he is repeating the salient features of the philosophy of the Gita for our benefit. So over here, the 4 conditions are laid down for a successful seeker. And to add a punch there, in the end, he says, it's almost like a personal endorsement that I promise to you that you will attain Godhood. That's what it really means. You shall come to me. Surely, I promise you. And why? Because you are so dear to me. And who is dear to him? Who will go through all those statements which he has mentioned. And he will, in the next verse, number 66, again, with a different kind of a twist, he'll give the supreme secret. Love is the correct motive force behind all spiritual teachings. Love. That's why Lord Krishna kept telling us, I love you. That's why I'm teaching you. Love. Unless a teacher has infinite love for the students, there's no inspired joy in teaching. With love comes this joyous ecstasy of satisfaction and fulfillment. And that is the true reward of a teaching, and that's what Lord Krishna is doing over here. That's why he's teaching. Throughout Bhagavad Gita, love, love, nothing but love. With the mind fixed on me, we have already seen that before. Sacrifice unto me, we have already talked about it in the previous chapters. But basically, remember that ever remembering me, ever devotedly identifying with me, through the process of dedicating all your activities upon me, that is the attitude he is asking for. No matter what you are doing, think that you are doing it for God. It's not the action itself, it is the intention behind the action. I'm sweeping the floor or picking up the garbage outside because it's God's creation and I want to keep it clean. That becomes a worship for God. Making sure never hurting anybody, to fill your stomach, that is loving God. Whatever we say, the words we speak, watching what we speak, how much we speak, is it truthful? Is it fruitful or not? We are bringing God into our voice also. So it's not the action, it's the ultimately actions also will show the color of our thoughts, but intention is more important. So the attitude of reverence to the Supreme is necessary in order to reincorporate into the texture of our own life. We want to have a divine life, we want to have a divine end. That means we have to have a reverence to the Supreme. The qualities of the Supreme. And the qualities we've been learning throughout Bhagavad Gita. Go back to those chapters. Whether it was a chapter 2 or chapter 12 or chapter 13, all over it's spread. Qualities. So our minds must be in an attitude of surrender to Him. Surrender to Him not out of fear. Surrender to Him out of reverence, out of love. That is the intention. I love Him so much, I cannot stay away from Him. Because He is everywhere. I want to see Him only. I want to remember Him only. When you work in this world with that kind of attitude, Lord Krishna says, you shall reach the Supreme. Actually, you have already reached the Supreme. It's not after letting go of this body, we reach there. We can reach right here, right now, no matter what we are doing. Attitude has to be changed. So next week, we will start with verse number 66. This is the most controversial verse. Very hard to understand, but I'll go to the best of my capability to open it up for you so that you can understand it also. And the key word to understand over there is dharam. Dharam, that's where the controversy comes from. Okay, what the scriptures say about the dharam and what our mind thinks as a dharam. And we're going to talk about it. Okay, so meanwhile, you can just go over it and let's have some questions now. Then at the end, Manny would like to sing a bhajan, right, Manny? And let me do the Shanti part before your questions. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnase Purnamadai Purnameva Vishyashyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Do we have